Hi, it's Carrie, and today I want to talk about willpower versus desire. A lot of times, a lot of self-help books and like Christian organizations will sometimes suggest that men use willpower to overcome their temptation to look at pornography when they're in a relationship or in a marriage, or even when they're single, and or it'll use like to keep from cheating on your wife, and they just want to use all this willpower. I'm not a big advocate of willpower. I don't think it works. I don't think rules and laws and vows and commitments work. I think what works is desire. And this is mainly geared toward men and understanding what women want as it pertains to faithfulness. They want a man to be faithful, but they don't want him to use willpower to be that way. It's insulting to think that a man has to have a support group and has to use willpower to keep from sleeping with another woman or from wanting to sleep with another woman. So basically, like I'll use an example of like somebody that loves McDonald's. Let's say every day they just want a Big Mac. They can't help it. They're just tempted. So they know, they've heard people say it's not good. They might even hide it a little bit because they know it's disgusting. But and they just keep getting fatter and fatter and sicker, but they just can't stop. The cure is not to hear one more person tell you that it's bad. The cure is to understand more about it. So people that were hardcore addicted to Big Macs get over it once they watch maybe a documentary about where actually the meat comes from, and they start to understand the whole story. And now that's not to say that everybody that's a porn star or everybody that's the other woman has some disgusting story that'll turn you off. But understanding more about what's actually happening can turn you off. So it can turn you off to McDonald's, hearing where the meat came from and the whole story. And, and that goes for any addiction. It can be heroin. And looking deeper is the answer. I smoked cigarettes for 12 years, and I was just chain smoking. I was embarrassed to admit it. I was smoking almost 2 packs a day. I was making myself sick, but the more I heard it was bad, the more I smoked. And I read a book by Alan Carr called Stop Smoking the Easy Way. And he just explains how cigarettes work, how it's just a mad cycle of creating a need and then briefly filling it. And he was like, there's no end to this. This is all it is. It's like wearing shoes that are too tight so that when you take them off, you feel better. And it makes no sense. And once he explained it to me like that, I was like, I get it. I couldn't want cigarettes anymore. He ruined it for me. I understood, and I knew too much to want it anymore. And here's the thing. I'm not always saying that the person that you're married to is the person that you need to be with. I just think that that's not always true. Sometimes we have chosen from a place of fear or lack, and later the proof is in the pudding when everything all pans out on down the road that maybe that person wasn't the best person for us. And that's another video. But as far as using willpower to be faithful to somebody, it's not a long-term answer. That might work for a week or two at best. I mean, I just don't think willpower works. Paul in the Bible even says it really well when he says, the thing that I don't want to do, that's the thing I do. And the thing that I do want to do, I don't do that, even though I want to. So basically, Paul was saying the law holds no real value in restraining sensual indulgence. There's no real benefit to being told that something's bad or you shouldn't do that. That's why the 10 Commandments don't work. Thou shalt not steal doesn't make people not steal. In fact, it may even seize the opportunity to up your temptation. When something becomes taboo, sometimes you can think you want it just because you're not supposed to have it, whether it's McDonald's or another woman, or looking at another woman, or looking at pornography, or whatever it may be. But we are applying this to romantic relationships and sex. So what I want to say is that when I'm thirsty, I don't grab a glass of bleach, because it's wet and liquid. I grab water because it satisfies. And I mean, they're both, once I understand something, I'm not tempted anymore, is what I'm trying to say. So basically, finding out what the bottom line need is and getting it filled cures all addiction. So if your bottom line need is to feel accepted and loved, but yet your wife is turned off sexually, she's not happy anymore, she's hurt all the time, part of that is created by the fact that possibly you're getting sex somewhere else, and whether it's pornography or other women. A woman's never going to be happy in a relationship as long as you're getting sex from somewhere else. So just know that right up front. That's probably not going to be fixable. Her happiness level is probably not going to go up unless you stop getting sex from somewhere else. But using willpower to stop it is not a long-term answer. What would have to happen is she would have to know that she's the only one, and if she were able to talk about her feelings. And at first, especially if you've been getting sex from somewhere else, whether you think she knows or not, I'm telling you, women have a sixth sense. When you're getting sex from somewhere else, they feel it. It's like saying I had a 12-pack of Coke in the fridge, and now 6 of those Cokes are missing, and I'm aware that they're missing, and yet you're over here going, no, there's no Cokes missing. I mean, that's how ridiculous it is to think a woman doesn't sense it when you're getting sex from somewhere else. Women know. And so basically, when a woman can feel that her husband's getting sex from somewhere else, it's a combination of hurt and embarrassment, feeling lonely, left out, being embarrassed that she wasn't able to satisfy him and keep his desires at home, being embarrassed because sometimes she doesn't even know why she's turned off, which I know why. She's turned off because she's being, she's aware that she's not the only one. I mean, it's embarrassing to find out that you're not fulfilling someone. And embarrassment never leads to feeling sexy. So basically, if a woman were, let's just say you were, having an affair, and you stopped and you went home and you said to your wife, I'd like to hear, what's going on. I want to, really hear what's going on in your heart and discover a little bit about how you feel in our marriage and about me and our relationship. And I know this is counterintuitive. A lot of guys are like, I'd rather die than start that conversation. But if a woman was allowed, and she's probably going to have some pent-up resentment, but if she was allowed to let off some steam about how she feels, at first she'd probably be angry. And then if you continued to listen and draw her out and ask questions about how she felt, instead of offering solutions, she'd probably start to cry. And this is where a lot of guys want to shut it down and say, I can't stand it when she cries. But it's necessary. And she'll make herself feel better if you can just be strong and be there for her. Let her cry. And then she'll get down to, eventually, if you're there for her, she'll get down to she'll jump back and forth. She might even go to tears, back to anger, and then back to tears. But eventually she's going to get down to relief. And then eventually back to love and gratitude. And after it's all over, she may not even say anything after it's over, but the next day she's going to feel a little more hope and a little more like you were there for her, like you were her knight in shining armor. You stayed strong and solid while she let go. And that is the essence of male and female. Somebody being hard and strong and letting the woman lose herself, lose control, emotionally even. That's sexually and emotionally. That's what a woman needs to be turned back on. Eventually this will translate back into being turned on to you and sexually. When a woman feels gratitude for a man, or she feels impressed that he did something she can't do for herself, that's where female sexuality comes from. Being impressed and grateful, and it just warms her heart and opens her back up to you. And at this point, it's not hard for a man to be turned on to her when she's feeling warm and open and happy. And it might take a little while, but that is the bottom line, the nuts and bolts of how to save your relationship. And that applies to any relationship, for romantic relationship. But anyway, so you can let me know what your thoughts are about this. I'm sure that's oversimplified, but it is pretty much the X-ray version of what goes on when a relationship is healed. So anyway, let me know what you think about this, and I will see you later.